Hey there, Aliens fans. This is Wesatron. Today we're going to be taking a look at NECA's Aliens Private Jenette Vasquez action figure. As I mentioned, it's from the movie Aliens, and this was just dropped in 2016, and these are showing up in Toys R Us stores for about $21.99. This is a unique figure because it's the first female Marine, and if I remember right, the only female Marine with this type of outfit in the movie. Packaging is standard clamshell, pretty basic for NECA. Got a shot of Jenette on the back here, a little bit of info about her character. And then down at the bottom we see the other characters in the wave, which is the prototype alien, and this is Frost here. On the side we get another shot of the figure using the smart gun. Over here just some shots from the camera. And on the bottom we've got our credits. So this time sculpt is Adrian Smith. I haven't been watching the credits lately, so I hadn't seen that name, but yeah, we recognize some of these other names. So yeah, pretty basic as far as NECA is concerned. They haven't really varied up the Aliens boxes. They've always been the same type, so let's go ahead and get her out of the packaging and see what she's like. And here we have Private Jenette Vasquez out of packaging, and she's a really cool figure. First off, we'll go with the accessory piece, which is an effects part, and this is, I guess, like the muzzle flash from her weapon. And you can see how it just plugs in right here on the end. There is a correct way to put it in, so you just got to make sure that you line it up. And then it looks like she's firing the weapon, which is really cool. I really like the way they did that. So to start it out, we have to deal with this first because it's so incredibly massive. The smart gun here is extremely well engineered on NECA's part. They did such a great job to the point where right now I've got her where she's sort of doing her exercises with Drake at the beginning where they're kind of flexing the smart guns. But look at this. With the gun, with all this this armature that she's got attached to her armor to help with the weight of it. Look at this. You can actually lower the gun completely, and all of these parts will line up on their own without you having to do anything. You see all these are individual pieces that are jointed, and you can actually move it, and you can actually sort of replicate her movements at the beginning of that shot, which is really cool. Big kudos to NECA. This probably was the biggest challenge of this figure, I'm sure. So being able to work that out is pretty neat. So I am going to go ahead and pop that off so that we can take a better look at her. So here's the smart gun up close. As you can see, it's got its very unique design, sort of a scaffolding look up here on the front. The back has almost sort of like a motorcycle and brakes type of like a throttle. For the activation, we've got a carry handle up here. Over here on this side, we've got the, I guess the support handle, and I'm guessing this is some type of safety. And then we've got our magazine over here. This would be a drum magazine, I'm suspecting. I don't know a ton about this weapon, but that's what it looks like from the design. And then this is the armature, which allows it to connect to the figure. Now when you get it, this is actually a separate piece and it just plugs into a hole right here. So you just plug that little piece in and you're good to go. And this thing is just jointed out of the wazoo. There is a hinge joint here. Well, here, let me just take this part off. Yeah, there's a hinge joint here, and then here is a swivel joint. It's just a friction fit swivel joint. And then here we've got another swivel joint and then another hinge joint. And then on this end, we've got another hinge joint and another swivel joint. And this is where it plugs into the figure itself. When you get her, she will look like this. And then this little piece here, there's a hinge here and a hinge here, so that those parts move independently. And then from there is a ball joint so that you can get full rotation and up and down movement, in and out. Full rotation on that. And then another hinge. So then you just take your armature piece here and you make sure you've got the pieces lined up correctly, and that just sort of snaps into place. And then this whole thing is completely movable. This one likes to pop off right here just because it is a friction fit joint. NECA smartly decided to use friction fits instead of pins, because pins would have broken this thing. As you tried to move it around, if there was any kind of stress, it would have broken the plastic, broken the pin, whatever. So instead, it'll just pop out of place and you just pop it back in. So yeah, this is amazing feat of engineering right here, just to make this work at this scale. Very, very cool. Vasquez does have one more accessory, and this is her light pack that a lot of the male figures, male Marines came with. And similar to them, I think it's the exact same sculpt because it's got that half peg type of look. She has a little slot back here on the back of her armor. You just slip that right into that hole and it'll hold just fine. Now there is a hole that's actually drilled into the figure's back so that it goes in much deeper than that, because you can see there's a big gap there. However, because of the way my particular figure's armor was glued, you probably can't see in there very well, the holes don't line up and you can't really move the armor because the armor is glued down. So the best I'm going to be able to do is just kind of wiggle it in there and let it sit, because I don't want to glue it in, you know, to be permanent or anything like that. But it still works just fine. It just looks a little weird from this side. If you really wanted to, you could always just cut down that peg by about half and then it would sit in and be much closer to the body. So on to Jenette Vasquez herself. We've got her look that she wears through, I would say, a decent part of the movie. She spends a lot of time in just like a black tank top, and of course her bit at the end with her last stand, she's, you know, got a very simple design, and I think that they've got enough parts here that are unique that they're probably going to do some kind of exclusive or something down the road, I would say. There's too many new parts that can't be reused for them not to do it, so come on, NECA, let's get a last stand version. That would be awesome. So right here we've got her headset, and this part is on a hinge, so you can move the eyepiece out of the way. And it is a decent likeness to, I believe her name is Janine Goldstein. She was in Terminator 2 as well. She played John Connor's stepmother or adoptive mother, whatever you want to call it, guardian. So it's a decent sculpt. The picture on the box looks a little bit more like Janine, and I think that has to do with just paint, because this is bare plastic, so some of the painted details can be lost pretty easily. But they did a great job on the bandana. You can see that there's texturing up there. We've got little design cues here and there. Very, very cool. Looks just like a bandana from the 80s that everybody had somewhere in their drawer. We've got little flexible bits of the bandana where it's tied back. Her hair is very well detailed. She had sort of a kind of a poofy buzz cut in the movie, and they replicated it very, very well. The headset is part of the sculpt, so you cannot remove this piece, and she does have her little boom mic that comes down from her earpiece right here. So the only downside to this is that this piece over here where I said it was on a hinge, I think a ball joint might have been better, just because it's not glued perfectly in place. So whenever I go to close it, it's a little bit below her eye. Not that it lined up with her eye at every point during the movie anyway, but it would have been a little closer if you could adjust it with a ball joint, but that's a minor nit because it looks still pretty awesome with it just kind of closed up right there. We down to her armor. She has got her marine armor here with a very, very large breastplate, and written on it, it says, forgive me for my pronunciation, but el riesgo siempre vive, which literally means the risk always lives. So you can kind of, you know, speculate on what that actually means. That's up to you. But on our back, we don't have any more writing or anything that I can see. A lot of the troops had a lot of design work on theirs. I think that's all that she's got on this figure, at least. I'm not certain about the actual movie. But she's got her little bands that she always wore at the top of her arms. Her arms are appropriately muscled. She was in awesome shape in this movie, so they did a great job at making her look very muscled for this figure. We've got very large bags here on the side, which I'm guessing are dump pouches, ammo pouches, and a big nice clip on the back. Good texturing here. The paintwork throughout is pretty good. It doesn't appear to have any kind of wash over the pants or anything. If you wanted to add that, you could, but I don't think it needs it because of the pattern is already so complex, it doesn't need to stand out anymore. I think it looks really good. We've got some nice cargo pouches down here, very similar to what the fellas were wearing in the movie as well. And mid-calf boots that are detailed only to the edges, but they do have peg holes on the bottom. So very, very nice overall in terms of sculpt. Like I said, the likeness isn't perfect, but I mean, from certain angles, it really, really does look like Vasquez. So I think they did a really, really good job. And the sculptor on that again was Adrian Smith. So good job, Adrian. You did a great job. I like it. In terms of articulation, we have a ball jointed head. So she gets lots of movement there. Swivel, no problem. She does have a cord that connects her eyepiece here, and of course, as I said, that can be moved out of the way, so I don't see it causing any kind of major problems. There's another cord that comes back down here off of her headset, but it just kind of tucks behind her bandana, so doesn't cause any problems or anything. She can look down about that far and look up about that far. So pretty good on the head. Swivel hinges in the shoulders. The pads of the shoulders do come out just a little bit, so if you wanted to keep it close as you go up, it'll push out a little, but not by much. This is like kind of a rubbery plastic, if you can see it moving there a little bit. It's because realistically, this whole thing should be able to be removed. This is all just glued on extra pieces, so it doesn't really hamper the articulation in any way. And the arm joint goes out to about there. We've got swivel hinges in the elbows. Because of her use of the rifle, they did a great job at carving out enough room in the elbow to where she doesn't get a double hinge bend, but she does get better than 90 degrees in both elbows. So very nice job. Swivels in and out. And then we have ball joints at the ends of the wrists. So she's got a very nice movement there. Again, all of this works kind of in tandem to make her hold her smart gun very, very well. From what I can see, we've actually got a two-segment joint here where there's a ball and socket joint up here and a double ball and socket down here, so that you can move her around quite a bit. I don't get a whole lot of side to side. You get a little bit of motion in there, but not a ton. And then the back and forward, I think it's just kind of limited by how this had to be designed so that she didn't look ridiculous. If the armor could cover it up better, then they could have done a much more complex joint, but that's not what it looked like in the movie. So they did a good job of kind of trying to fix that problem. So she's got some motion in here, but it is hampered somewhat. But because this is a double ball joint down here, you can see that the whole top section can be moved on its own. So they did try to do some really good articulation, and there may be varying levels of success from figure to figure. Mine's pretty good. You might have a little better. So swivel hinges in the thighs. So this is a rubber diaper type thing that NECA likes to do, which I really like because it doesn't hamper articulation. It looks really good. She doesn't get a perfect 90 degrees going forward, but it's not like, you know, they're putting out a large scale vehicle or anything. And then going back, she gets a pretty decent motion too. And like I said, it'll be blocked by this diaper type thing. Out to the side, she's got really nice range of motion, no problems there, perfect for high kicks if you want her to go all martial on the aliens, or xenomorphs, if that's your preference. And then swivels at the tops of the thighs, so very, very cool. Then we have swivel hinges here, not a full 90 degrees, but not bad, and swivel right there. And then nothing at the top of the boots, but we do have a ball joint in the feet. And on mine at least, it seems like the motion going out is really good. And if this is back to vanilla, the motion going in, not so great. This happens every once in a while on a NECA figure where for some reason their foot goes really far outwards, but not really far inwards. And I don't know if that's just a weird sculpting anomaly that happens from time to time, or if it's like a miscommunication with the people at the factory, but it would be served better if this could come in a little bit more, but it's not bad. And then of course you get your forward and back, so she can get into some nice stances and everything, and she'll hold up just fine. So, and then of course, you know, you can bend the legs and all that jazz and get her kind of wobbly, and as long as she's got those ball joints working for her, she'll be able to stand up just fine. So pretty cool. So yeah, paint wise, sculpt wise, articulation wise, accessory-wise. Everything on this figure seems to be pretty top-notch. And here's Vasquez with a few of the other characters from the movie, just so you can see the difference in all the sculpts and everything. Jenette was supposed to be pretty small in stature, so they did a really good job of making Ripley much taller, the male Marines much taller. As you can see, the pattern on the camera matches up pretty well. This is a bit darker, but not by much. Overall, I think she fits in really well with the line. She's got less paint on her skin tone, which matches more of the Ripley than it does the Bishop or Windrix or anything like that. They had a bit of a shift in the tone of the line after a while, but I think overall she fits in really well with everybody. And then of course with her enormous gigantic smart gun, she just fits the bill perfectly. She's going to look great with all the others, including Hudson and I can't think of the other guy's name. All right, I want to say Hawk, but I'm thinking of Hudson Hawk. But yeah, for $21.99, she is a great deal. Just for you scale people out there, I know this will be important. So she comes in right at 6 1/4 inches if she doesn't fall over. She does fall over, but she's still 6 1/4 inches, so that doesn't matter. So yeah, in a 7-inch scale line or 1/10 scale line, if that's what you want to call it, I think she fits the bill pretty well. For $21.99, you get a really well articulated figure in the 7-inch scale. You get a very well engineered smart gun, which actually has functional posability and not just swap out effects parts, which they could have done kind of like Figure Arts, just had parts that could have swapped out so you could get different looks, but you'd only have a couple options. Instead, NECA designed an entire armature themselves to make it work. On top of that, they went ahead and also gave you a muzzle flash to boot. So pretty awesome. $21.99 is a steal still. NECA could easily charge $25 for basic figures like this and $30 for their ultimates, and they'd still be selling at a great deal. So yeah, there's no complaints with this figure. I think overall she's great. Any minor nits are just that. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any questions or comment about Private Jenette Vasquez, I'd be glad to help you out. If I totally butchered the Spanish on her armor, then I apologize to all of the Spanish-speaking people of the world. That's my fault. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye.